It's hard to put a value on the time we have.
They're missing out on part of their life that could still be growing, even at an advanced age, between 65 and 105.
For many seniors this year, their time has been threatened unlike anything they've experienced before.
I would like to see more events and activities for them, some sort of normalcy.
This week we look at issues seniors are facing and what's being done to keep them safe. This is The Race. Welcome to The Race. I'm Chris Stewart. Inside long-term care facilities across the country, coronavirus has proven to be an unforgiving illness. And inside this one in Holyoke, Massachusetts, not only has it spread, it's cut the story short of some of the most treasured Americans. Final moments carry a weight.
I know in my heart that he knew I was with him, and that was when I had to make the decision to tell him it was okay to let go, which was really, really hard.
Weight that Lori Bodette now feels every day.
It was because I loved my dad so much and I didn't want him to suffer. I had to think of him before myself,
Her father, Jim, served during the Korean War and lived at this state-run veterans home in Holyoke, Massachusetts.
He was in the soldiers' home for over 16 years, made a lot of friends. Saturday before Easter, we were FaceTiming, and he was just like he looked like he was in a, he looked like a zombie. He couldn't respond to me.
On April 14th, he passed away after testing positive for COVID-19.
The cramped rooms, they had way too many beds, veterans in a room. They were definitely not socially distant.
The number of people at the Holyoke Soldiers' Home who have died from the virus stands at 76. Paul Barabani now stands on the outside, but from 2011 to 2016, he was superintendent of the facility that opened in 1952.
It was written up in 2010 by the VA for not having sufficient space between. There wasn't room to get by between the bed and the wall with a walker. Wheelchairs were out of the question.
He says in 2012, he submitted a $116 million expansion and renovation plan to create more space, but the state never acted on it.
I often say, if only they had listened, if they had listened on increasing the staff as well as renovating the building, the outcome may have been different.
In June, an independent investigation says decisions made by the home's leadership were utterly baffling, like putting healthy and infected veterans in the same ward, and included a social worker's quote saying it felt like we were moving the concentration camp. We were moving these unknowing veterans off to die.
What I would like to say to the state right now and to our leaders and our politicians is make this right.
The state secretary of Veterans Services resigned and the home superintendent was fired.
The subject matter and details of this report are nothing short of gut-wrenching.
The governor has released a plan that includes $6 million going towards infection control and a promise to improve staffing. Cheryl Turgeon's father is still inside the soldiers' home.
He's going to be 90 in September, and I want to see him hit that milestone.
My father-in-law was more than number 63 who died at the soldiers' home.
Cheryl Malandrinos' father-in-law, Harry, served overseas and returned to spend decades as a public school teacher. In April, when his health quickly declined, his family moved him to a local hospital where they received a call.
And they said, if you're going to come, you need to come now. No one ever wants that phone call.
They had to say the same goodbye that tens of thousands of families have said nationwide. And while leaders are looking to right the wrongs that led to an outbreak, mismanagement and this virus have left their mark.
I'm the one who made the decision to put him in the soldiers' home. I'm the one who promised him that he wouldn't die alone. So I have to live with that. I have to get up every day and realize that what I thought was a godsend for him probably ended his life early. And that I could not ultimately fulfill the one promise that I made to him when I put him there because he didn't want to go. That's what I have to deal with every day.
Now, even without the many challenges that come with coronavirus, access to health care is a top priority as people get older. But costs are rising on policies specifically made for people on a fixed income. Ashley Sampson's asking if that's sustainable.
When you enter the sunset years of life, often there's reflection. Terry Krieger likes to think of her former career as the school lunch lady.
I loved it. If I could, I'd go back.
But the passing of time eventually catches up to all of us. She's now been in an assisted care facility for about a year and a half.
I had very high concerns that I would be put here and left.
It made for some scary times.
And I haven't been.
She says if it wasn't for her daughter, she'd be lost.
People here will ask, what insurance you have, and I go, I don't know. Ask my daughter.
Terry is not alone.
It's crazy. People just don't know enough.
Navigating the world of health insurance and available services for our aging population can be overwhelming for families.
When it comes down to it, there is always a way. You just have to explore the different options, and that's where I come in.
Meet Michelle Millay.
That's exactly what I feel like, an advocate.
She's part of a national organization called Assisted Living Locators that helps families find the best options and how to pay for it.
It's really important for our seniors to age with dignity.
Her introduction to the world of senior care was personal. Her mother suffered from dementia and her father struggled to care for her.
I'll never forget that conversation because that was devastating to him. He thought he had planned and unfortunately didn't.
Now she's made it a mission of sorts to make sure no one else is put in that position.
It's very important to get us ahead of the game.
Meaning having those tough conversations as soon as possible. Terry is adjusting well to her new life, and she has some advice for those willing to just roll the dice down the road.
Plan for retirement, because you never think that you're going to be where you're at in 20 years.
I'm Ashley Sampson reporting.
People work their entire lives to get to retirement, but affording that new lifestyle is becoming less stable. And Alexa Liaco is taking a look at what the future may hold.
At the end of summer, Christina Kerfman would typically be rushing to prepare her second grade classroom.
It's a green pumpkin.
But this year,
I started growing a garden. I've never planted vegetables in my entire life, and I love it.
Her newfound happiness coming with just as much heartbreak.
I submitted my retirement papers.
After 28 years in the classroom.
For me, teaching was about the connection with kids, and it was about hugs, and it was about, tying shoes and helping with your hair, and it was about those relationships.
With COVID-19 threatening those precious relationships, Kerfman was forced to reconsider going back to school.
I had a student come in and say, this coronavirus, is this going to kill us all? And I was like, oh my goodness. I came home and went, no. I'm not doing this anymore.
She knew her body couldn't take the risk.
I have an autoimmune disorder. It's getting a little bit worse. It's similar to rheumatoid arthritis, so I have trouble with walking.
On top of that, a few years ago, she spent weeks in the hospital for a blood clot in her lung.
I was saying goodbye to friends and family. I wasn't willing to test that again.
Because losing her health would mean losing time with those she loves most.
I'm a mom more so than I'm anything else. And I have to be able to look at them every day and say that I want to be here for you.
So she's stepping away from all she's known.
I've cried virtually every single day.
And the financial hit of retiring early at 55, Kerfman says, doesn't help.
My retirement pension is $1,000 a month. My health care is going to be $2,000 a month. So I'm in the hole already. It's a huge financial decision, but in the end, you're talking about your life at stake.
Kerfman is not alone in facing early retirement. The Brookings Institution estimates that between March and June, 2.9 million older workers lost their jobs because of COVID-19. And female workers are at a higher risk of unemployment than males. For Kerfman, the tough choice has come with an outpouring of support.
It's tradition in our school when you retire for everyone to fill out a scrapbook page of some retirement advice.
Even if she wasn't ready for that advice quite yet.
It's time to enjoy your pool, your animals, and traveling. Boy, people know me, don't they? Look forward to the best days of your life. We love you and we miss you. Oh, it's hard.
And she will feel a void that only the laughter of children can fill. But Kerfman keeps reminding herself of one thing.
It's not the way that I wanted it to end, certainly. I didn't get to say goodbye to my class. I didn't really get to say goodbye to my fellow teachers, but that'll come.
For The Race, I'm Alexa Liacco.
We're talking to Americans who were alive during the civil rights movement, what they think will change now based on what they saw happen before.